think about the most dangerous gangsters of all time. For me, I think it's gotta be Al Capone, maybe Pablo Escobar, but I think somebody we should add to this question is Greg. Because today we are going to be reading Greg and the Mafia. This has been a story 1 year in the works. This story has been requested tons of times, and I tried making it last year, but a lot of problems happened, but we are finally getting it done. Now, I'm sure all of you have been waiting a very long time for this story. So how about we hop straight into Greg and the Mafia, page 1. June, Tuesday. Hi, I'm Greg Heffley. I just moved into this new hood called Plainview. This place ain't so bad according to my mom, but she also recently came out as a flat earther. So her opinion right now really isn't something I should take as valid. I don't even know what my dad sees in her. She's always been a nut, and doing shit like this wasn't really out of her scope. The government watches you poop. My dad's a recovering drunk and found a job here involving a clothing factory. Minimum wage would have been a dream for him. The guy ended up putting us in debt for investing in crap, and I've always used him as a bar that I should never fall down to. You better not search up furry on the computer. My brother Roger died last month in an assassination at school. Oh, that kind of came out of nowhere. Alright, they never found the body. The assassin was my adopted brother Manny. Okay, what the fuck is going on so far? He recently came out as a member of the Al-Qaeda. His initiation was to kill my brother. That bastard is one of the reasons we left our old town. The witnesses said that his war chant was the most disturbing thing that they had ever heard in their entire lives. Die, ploopies, die. Yeah, well, I mean, if somebody's going after you in a school and they're yelling that shit, that would be pretty disturbing. Wednesday. We finally finished moving what furniture we had into our new house, so I decided to go out and make friends with the other kids. The house next to ours, I met this kid named Rowley Jefferson. The kid was loaded, and I knew from that fact alone, this would be a beautiful friendship. Huh? Are you gay? What? Hell no. But do you want to be friends? Not as much as before. All the other kids were complete weirdos. Most of them were part of a singular gang called the Active Intelligent Dude Society. Yet their leader, Fregley, was what I heard from Rowley, the most terrifyingly sexy man on the planet, and was feared by all in Plainview. His name alone made adults shit and cum their pants. What is going on with this old guy over here, man? What is going on with his pants? Monday. Not 1 week has passed since we got here, and Dad has already gotten himself fired for coming to work drunk and shitting on the boss's desk. Okay. To make matters worse, his boss threatened him by saying that if he ever applied to his other factories, he'd send Fregley's gang to correct him. Get the fuck out, Frank. Mom won't even attempt to get a job. She stated that jobs are a way for the government to trick people into falling in line with their evil plot. That wasn't even the dumbest government-related thing she told me today. The Jews caused 9/11. My parents are now both unemployed, and we didn't have that much money to begin with. I asked Rowley how much longer we'd had till we get evicted. He was good with that stuff. He said that we didn't have enough money to last us till the end of June. At this point, I realized I had to get my hands dirty and start my own business. Do you want to start an epic-style business? Prostitution? What is going on with Rowley? Like, he's just a fucking horn dog in the story, I guess. He agreed to help fund my new business, because there was no way he'd just give me the money flat out. He said that he wanted me to earn my money. He even expected a 50% share in the business. Bastard is gonna get what's coming to him. But not yet. I still need that ploopy. We decided that our business would be to supply lemonade to those who craved the thirst. Tuesday. Today we started selling our lemonade. We were almost out of stock in the first half hour because today people were moist from sweating in the summer heat. People were lining up all the way from the town marijuana store, which made getting away with charging extra a little easier. Things were almost perfect. I say almost because of Rowley. Rowley just stayed inside and watched TV. His excuse was that he was supervising me. 50% for sitting on his fat ass. Can I get a discount if there's cum in the cup, man? Eventually, we ran out of lemons, and I asked Rowley if he could get some more since he didn't do anything. But he said that he'd just give me the money while I get the supplies from the supermarket. That was literally 50 miles away. He told me that I could just get my dad to drive me there, but my mom wouldn't even let us get a car. I once got, touched by a car. It did a better job than your dad. Okay, hold up. What the fuck is Susan doing right now? She's got her head on her torso? What is going on with her? You know what? Let's just skip over it. Keep going. So I ended up using my small amount of earnings to get a ride on the bus. But on the way back, I realized that the bus stopped serving early today. I was just about to throw a fit when an old man in a car yelled at me, "Get in." At first, I thought this seemed like the beginning of a Law and Order episode, but well, fuck it. The old man asked me where I lived so he could drop me off. I realized this guy might not be the most trustworthy guy, so I told him Rowley's address instead of mine. On our way there, he told me that he saw me selling lemonade and how it seemed to him that I was doing all the heavy lifting. I explained to him our situation and how I needed Rowley to fund our lemonade stand. The old man said I was smart. He told me that he was part of the Chinese Mafia and he'd be happy to endorse my stand and off Rowley for me. We'd even take care of the body. I didn't know if I should get involved with the Mafia, let alone the Chinese Mafia. Yet, before I could come up with a decision, we had arrived at Rowley's house. The old man told me to think about his offer, but before he left, he warned me that I should watch myself for copycat stands that would try to steal business away. With that, he drove away. I don't think that's gonna happen though. No one is that stupid to try and compete with us. Wednesday. Sure enough, the old fool was right, because right across the street, another lemonade stand opened up and they looked like they meant business. Ice cold lemonade. Free ketamine per purchase. Okay, very interesting business idea. Let's see if it plays out well. The other stand stole all of the customers away from us with their virgin looking stand. It must have been Fregley, because some of his goons were hanging around and they didn't look like they were in the mood for buying any lemonade. My suspicions were confirmed when some kid tried to steal some lemonade, and before he could get 5 feet away from the stand, the goons tackled him and took him behind a house. I haven't seen him since. I don't think those guys were giving him any lollipops. Ready to die? It was just lemonade. Well, now your ass is about to get nay-nayed. Later, I found the old man by the weed store having a smoke. He told me he knew I'd come back. He asked me what the situation was with the goons' stand. I told him that I thought it was time for me to start working with the Mafia. The old man told me I wasn't making a mistake. But as we were shaking hands, some goons spotted us, and they started talking amongst themselves. I asked the old man if I should be worried about that, but he said they were just gang goons. Boy, was he wrong. Last night, as I was getting ready for bed, I saw a big white van pull by our house. 2 big guys stepped out, pointing rocket launchers at my house. I was going to fucking die. I quickly grabbed all my money and this journal and jumped out of the single-story window. When I got to my feet, I only had seconds to see my mom and dad try to escape. My mom missing an arm, my dad missing his penis. The second rocket was fired. I don't think I even had enough reading to describe to you the deadly scene. Thursday. Today, when the firefighters recovered my parents' bodies, they asked me what started the fire. I told them my parents left the stove on and lit a match to look for what the smell was at night. I guess you could say it was pretty lit. Your parents are dead, you little shit. When they finished up, Rowley came over looking like a fat ass and asked me why the hell wasn't I working. When I told him about my family, he said that they were just holding me back or some bullshit. Rowley said that I could live in his basement, but he'd have to change our contract, with him now getting 95% and me now getting 5%. I'm really going to enjoy killing that automaton of fun. When I went down to our trash lemonade stand, I found a white box with a note on it. Hello, Gregory. Here's a little something to boost sales. P.S. Put on the shirt. It will make you look sexy? Huh? From old man? What the fuck? I opened up the box and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was a sexy, edgy, black t-shirt, and I think about a pound of pure cocaine. I covered up the box to make sure no one was looking and took it to the basement and slammed it shut. I got a pitcher of lemonade and mixed that stuff in. It looked the same, so I knew I was in the clear. Greg, why does the lemonade taste like pain? I mixed it with lub. The moment I started selling lemonade, business was booming again. A jogger tasted my lemonade, and I hear that guy jogged 2 towns over. Business was good. Too good. Too good for the goons on the other side to handle. One of them came over and threatened me to stop selling lemonade. You better stop. You better stop fucking your sister. Later, I told the old man about what happened today, and I asked him if he could help me out. He said that he knew a guy who worked as a bodyguard for real cheap. He goes by the name of Albert Sandy. He sounds like a prick. Around 10 p.m., I snuck out of the basement to find Albert Sandy. Sure enough, he was where the old man said he'd be. Hey kid, You got a job for me? I'm searching for a 200-pound 15-year-old to work for me. Yes, I have a job for you. Friday. Today I set up Albert Sandy next to my stand. He asked me what I was putting in my lemonade. I set that ploopy straight. Did you know that lemonade is made with lemons? Wow, really? Did you know that your micropenis is the reason why you're still a virgin? I started selling my secret ingredient lemonade for a while till one of the goons came over to our stand. He told me that I better take down my stand, or else. Then, Albert Sandy chimed in. Hey, you better beat it or die. Greg Heffley clarifies that this is a journal, not a diary. He then explains that he only agreed to write in one for when he's rich and famous, and for now I'm stuck in middle school with a bunch of morons. Greg then discusses the cheese at Albert Sandy started spitting facts at the goon. Some of them were so mind-boggling that I had to cover my ears just so I didn't get knowledge aids. Sure enough, it worked, and that goon was so scared that he ran away, tripping over himself. Albert Sandy has officially saved my business. Saturday. Albert Sandy has officially ruined our business. Remember how yesterday Albert Sandy scared that goon off? Well, today that guy brought backup. They all came over to our stand with bats and brass knuckles. Albert Sandy yelled at them to stop or else he'd rip the facts into their skulls. But they ignored him and kept coming. Albert Sandy then took out an AK-47 labeled The Facts and mowed them all down. When the guys at the other stand saw what happened, they took what money they had left and booked it. Albert Sandy then took a grenade out and yeeted it at the stand. One of the goons on the ground was still alive. He said with his dying breath that we were as good as dead and that Fregley would eat our ass. Joke's on him. I have herpes. Joke's on you. So does he. We started hearing sirens in the distance, so we took what money we had and made tracks. I didn't bother telling Rowley about the cops. I hope he has fun explaining to them why there's cocaine in the lemonade. It was around 8 p.m. when me and Albert finally made our way into town. We took shelter in an alleyway next to a dumpster. I thought we were in the clear, till Albert decided to pull a dirty move. Give me the money, Greg. I knew you were a prick. I asked that bastard why he would betray me at a time like this. He went on about how he was going to use the money to purchase a bunch of damn yogurt. He was going to pull the trigger, but then he appeared. Next thing I remember after Albert got his brains blasted was being hit on the head by another goon. I woke up with a sack over my head, and I was on my knees with my hands tied behind my back. I could hear men talking to each other, probably deciding what to do with me. When they took their sack off my face, I had to bear witness to the most sexy man on this damn earth, Fregley. Hello, Greg. I've heard much about you. Fregley walked up to me and went on about how he was not happy to hear that his men were being slaughtered on the streets like dogs. He said that he knew my involvement with the Chinese Mafia and how they had been warring factions for years now. He took off the sack to the man in front of me, and it was old man. Hey, prepubescent bitch. I begged Fregley not to kill the old man, not because I cared about him, but because I didn't want another person dying because of me, like my parents. He just laughed and said that he wasn't going to kill him. He has people that do it for him. I can still taste his damn gray matter as I write this. The goons took old man's body away, and it was just me and this other guy left. At first, I thought it could have been anyone under that sack, till I noticed their fat ass. Rowley. Fregley removed his sack and then went on about how he was about to kill the closest thing I had to family, my master. At first, I thought he was joking, but then he whipped out his iPhone X. He opened Facebook and showed me Rowley's account, and on it was at least 50 pictures of me, naked. There were pictures of me getting dressed and using the bathroom on his account, and the captions all read, "My virgin slave taking a shit," or "My slave getting ready to be my bitch." That edgy bastard started laughing. He said that if Fregley hadn't tied me up, then he would've. On his bed! That fucker! Fregley put the gun to Rowley's back, and he stopped laughing. But before he pulled the trigger, he asked me if I wanted Rowley to live or die. Rowley started yelling how he saved my life and taking me in when no one would, or some bullshit. Shut up and die, you STD-ridden ploopy. That's a colorful dictionary, Heffley. Fregley smiled and shot my goddamn liver. Rowley stood up and laughed. I realized that his hands were never actually tied. He walked up to Fregley and kissed him on the lips! What the fuck? Then his gay ass started explaining how he and Fregley were a couple of ploopies this whole time. He then gave Fregley another gay kiss and took his gun. Get ready to zooey mama in hell. The phrase still makes me shudder as I write this, but just as Rowley was about to blow my brains out, his damn chest blew open. My prince! Rowley fucking died, and the intruders were packing heat. Fregley ordered his goons to fire at them. It was none other than the Chinese Mafia. They swooped in behind boxes, shooting drum guns from Fortnite at the goons with Glocks. You can tell who won that firefight. Glocks are for pussies. At first I thought they were here for me. I wish. But then I noticed some of them were busting open crates for the stuff inside of them, which looked like drugs. It was a damn raid. As bullets were streaming across my head, I tried showing them that I was Chinese Mafia by showing off my edgy black t-shirt. But they all ignored me and went for the drugs. I then told them I knew the old man, which got one of their attentions. The guy asked me if I knew where he was, so I told him if he'd help me, I'd tell him. Before blacking out, I noticed Rowley's corpse looking as fat as ever. Sunday. I woke up in bed with stitches on my gut. My legs and hands were strapped to the bed. At the foot of the bed sat a Portugal guy with an afro. Not the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Chinese Mafia. He said that his name was Alex Ardua, and that old man went missing Friday. He put a gun to my head and told me to start talking. I explained to him how I knew the old man and that he was killed minutes before they arrived. Hold up, are you Greg Heffley? Well, I ain't Al Capone. Alex went on about how the old man spoke highly of me and how he could use someone with my salesman skills to work with drug dealing skills. Before he went on, I asked him if they were able to kill Fregley last night. He shook his head and said that he got away, and it wasn't the first time they almost got him. When I get my hands on Fregley, he's dead. Alex Aruda ordered a couple of guys to let me go from the bed. He then led me through this huge estate. He told me they worked for a Triad that's stationed all the way back in China. Apparently, we're the guys who get them the stuff to sell. Originally, this group was consisted of mostly Chinese guys, but with the crackdown on organized crime and the rise in numbers of the active intelligent dudes society gang, they've had to hire other kind of people. He led me to the basement of the manor. There was a guy kneeling on the ground with a sack over his head. Alex Aruda ordered a guy to take their sack off. The guy had a black eye and was gagged. Alex told me that this guy was the driver from last night and that it was his fault that old man died. To prove my allegiance, he gave me a gun and told me to kill him. Ah, jeez. Oh, fuck, oh man. I've never killed anyone before. I have seen a lot of people die, but I have never pulled the trigger. One of the goons flashed his gun at me, so I guess it was either this guy or me. I think you know what you picked. Son of a bitch. I missed between the eyes and shot his gut. I had to put a few more bullets in him to get him to die. The gun felt heavy. Alex Aruda patted me on the back and introduced me to my new partner, Tyson Sanders. Tyson Sanders was the guy who killed Rowley. Hey man, thanks for killing Rowley. Who's that, a prostitute? I think he has enough holes in him now to qualify as one. After I met Tyson, Alex Aruda led me to a car. Inside it was a suitcase full of money. Alex Aruda told me that I was to meet a couple of Goombas by Elmer Street in an alleyway. He gave Tyson Sanders the keys, and of which I have just found out the real name of, a Thompson. He let me keep the M9 that he gave. He also told me to use my skills to lower the price as much as possible. The cheaper we bought the stuff for, the better. With that, he told us to get on with it. The truck he gave us was a piece of shit pickup truck from the 90s. But Tyson Sanders didn't seem to mind, so I didn't mention it. At least it wasn't a pretentious Toyota Prius. We drove by a rough-looking neighborhood and stopped next to an old-looking motel. We parked there and headed to Elmer Street, and found the rendezvous point. Just like Alex had said, there were a couple of Goombas there waiting for us. They greeted themselves as Jury and Chad. Hey, Chad's a cool name. Thanks, my friends call me Rad Chad. Okay, Rad Chad. I said friends call me that, kid. The jury guy looked around and noticed a couple of people down the road and said that we should go somewhere else more private. He led us to the motel and pulled out a key to one of the rooms. He opened it and told us to come inside. Tyson Sanders told me that he would wait outside till I finished up with these guys. The instant I closed the door, this happened. Alright, fuckwit, let's get some shit straight. Chad said that he heard about how I was the one who killed all those people on the streets, and that they didn't think they could trust me. I tried to explain to them that it was Albert Sandy who iced all those goons, but those retards didn't want to hear it. I tried proving to them that I was sane by throwing the gun I had onto the bed. It worked, and the Chad guy lowered his gun. Thanks, Rad. don't make me change my mind. With that out of the way, we got down to business. The jury guy put his bag on the bed and opened it to reveal what looked like 2 pounds of cocaine. They told me they wanted $2,000 for it. I opened up the briefcase, but before I gave it to them, I used my amazing gift to barter the price down to $1,000. Using my amazing charisma and obvious charm, I almost got away with it if that jury guy hadn't realized he got swindled. Instead of shooting my brains out though, he said that he could use a guy like me for the Italian Mafia. The jury guy said that he could use a guy with my natural talent and my instinct to kill. I was about to try to correct him again, but I wanted to see where else he was going. He asked me why should I have to go and risk my dumb ass to go out and buy shit for a couple of goons in Asia. I thought about it, and then I remembered Old Man and how he wanted me to stay with the Chinese, so I declined. For now at least. Are you sure? You get a 50% discount at every Italian restaurant if you join. Friday. It's been about a week since I had to deal with those Goombas. I won't lie. I've been thinking about joining the Italians. The shit that Alex Aruda makes me do is kind of been getting out of hand, even though every drug deal that I've been a part of has been smooth sailing. Except for one. I was doing business with a couple of goons when one of them mentioned Fregley. I pinned the bastard up against a wall with a gun in his mouth and demanded to know, "Where the fuck is Fregley?" "Dos míos, Ming. He's in El Carro. He's in the car." I beat the bastard in the head with a gun and ran up to the car. Fregley's ass was mine. Finally, the guy who's caused everything horrible in my life ever since I got here. My parents dying, killing my closest thing to a mentor, and destroying my darn house. I shot the door handle and got ready to kill Fregley. But then I realized, oh shit. Eat a big one, Greg. Love Fregley. It was a damn setup. Damn it. I still don't know how those goons knew that I would be the moron sent out there. I tried to figure it out until I realized what happens when you shoot a gun in public. Get in. They called the cops. Oh, I thought we should stick around. But Tyson wasn't wrong, and the boys in blue were on our ass in less than 2 minutes. Tyson Sanders started berating me for using a gun out in the open like that. I told him that they said Fregley was in the car and that we could have got him. But he didn't want to hear it. I think he was more focused on getting away from the cops. Tyson tried maneuvering around the streets, but he couldn't shake those damn cops. Tyson yelled at me to take the wheel. He prepared to make shit real with his Thompson. Tyson opened up the window and made the situation from a 1 to a 100. He was shooting at the cops and any moron who got close to us. Might have caused some unintentional homicide, but what's the kid gonna do? Tell their parents? Tyson shot out one of their tires. Another bullet hit a cop right in the chest. They were packing some heat too though, and one of the bullets hit a tire. I tried getting on the highway, but it was 5 miles down the road, and I didn't think Tyson could hold them off for that long. We were coming up on the highway when we passed this huge lake surrounded by trees. Tyson yelled at me to swerve into the pass on his signal. At first I thought he wanted to commit suicide, which at this point, I was kinda open to. Tyson Sanders got carried away with the shooting, and he got shot. Tyson lost his gun under the wheels of the police car. He rolled up the window and told me to make a right at the next intersection. I did just that, but according to a sign, it said that this was a state park. I didn't stop to ask any questions and went with it. Meanwhile, Tyson got on the phone with some guy and we pulled up to the booth. "Hey, we work for Mr. Aruda." "Ah, I see." Just like that, they let us in. No questions asked. Tyson sped off and said that the park might be owned by the state, but the people who work there were all associated with the Chinese Mafia. The booth guy had given us 10 minutes. Tyson drove the truck into a path far away from any buildings or trails and was littered with trees. He got out and opened the tailgate. Inside were 2 sacks. Tyson put on some latex gloves he had in the back seat and gave me what looked like a car bomb. He said to put it under the car. He took out the remote for it and a shotgun. Suddenly, I realized exactly what was in those sacks. Live bodies. I can still smell their corpses. Tyson later told me that those guys were part of Fregley's gang and had them around in case something like this were to happen. In other words, he had them around in case we needed to commit a fake suicide. He's good. I'll give him that. When I finished placing the bomb, I got a good look at the goons. Both of their faces were unrecognizable. Especially the guy Tyson shot under the chin. I couldn't find his jaw. I don't want to draw it. It was too fucking much. Tyson yelled at me to get away from the car and to get into the bushes. We hid there for a while till the cops showed up and got a good look at the bodies. One of them threw up. It took me all my power not to do the same. I thought we were just gonna leave him like that, but but Tyson had other plans. To make matters worse, Tyson noticed that I didn't enjoy seeing all those guys die. He gave me a stern talking to. Remember, Greg, those cops are dead because you fucked up. I don't want to admit it, but I think I'm obsessed with Fregley. Saturday, Tyson didn't tell Alex Aruda about what happened yesterday, which I'm grateful for, which also explains why I feel kinda bad for what I've been doing for the past week. You see, I've been borrowing some of the Mafia's money to help out the Italians. I've also been dealing with stuff for them, which I guess I'm not too proud of, but I have been able to hire some goons to work for me. Now I don't even have to go out in the field to do the dirty work. You know, I'm just glad things are finally going my way. Sunday. Holy shit, holy fuck, I just killed a guy. Like, I know that I killed the other guy, but I was forced to kill that guy. But this time, it was because I wanted to. The weird thing is, I didn't even know this guy, but I enjoyed killing him. I wonder how it would feel to kill someone who's done me wrong. Monday. Today is a special day. You know why? Because today I get my vengeance on a particular man. The man who is one of the reasons why I'm here in the danger zone and an orphan. Not Fregley, however. He'll get his day. No. Today, I get to kill my dad's boss, Stan Warren. Warren is the big boss of all the companies in this town due to this place being the only town to amend the Sherman Antitrust Act back in 1890. I don't even know how that one happened, which means he's got the whole town in a monopoly. He has the money to pay off any cop or politician. Worst of all, he's got Fregley's gang to act as a secret service. However, recently, a local businessman has been rising above the ranks, and according to Alex Aruda, if Warren dies, then this new guy takes his place. The best part being, he works for us. Just as we agreed to. Once I am in control, I shall legalize prostitution of furries. What the fuck? Unfortunately, Alex Aruda entrusted the assassination to some goon called Maddox. I'll make sure I get him out of the way. It's a good thing Maddox is easily persuaded by $10. 2 digits mean 1,000, right? Yup. I was about to head out, but Tyson Sanders stopped me before I could get to my car. He said that he knew what I was up to. I asked him how that was possible, and he said that he's seen it before. A young guy joining the Mafia because he's got nowhere else to go. Those guys joined to get revenge on who have wronged them, and that got them killed. Greg, I don't want you to end up like those guys. People destroyed by revenge and murder. It was wrong for me to try and put that pressure on you like that the other day. But you have to know that the Mafia is about business, and nothing should be personal. He didn't try to stop me from getting in the car though. He just shook his head and walked away. Who needs him anyways? All I had to do was call in some Goombas to help me take care of Warren. The only problem is, their Godfather wants to see me, and I don't think it's about Warren. I had to drive to the local Papa John's. The Italians have a good taste, I'll give them that. Inside, a couple goons were waiting for me. They looked like professionals with their suits and slicked hair. They brought me into a room in the back. Inside was one of the fanciest personal booths I've ever seen. There sat a man. No, there sat the Godfather. I've heard that his name was Antonio Vito Colombo III, though some refer to him as Mr. Beardo. Good morning, Heffley. Your arrival pleases me. I kissed the Godfather's hand and took a seat beside him. A goon sat next to me, blocking me off from an exit. The Godfather said that he was glad to hear that I had decided to help out his family business, and that if I had any request, he would see to it that it was fulfilled, with the exception that I do something for him in return. I requested to use some of his workers to help me carry out a vengeance on Warren. He was upset to hear vengeance. The Godfather told me the same bullshit that Tyson said and how he lost his son because of vengeance. However, he said that he wasn't going to stop me because a deal is a deal. He ordered Chad and Jury to accompany me to Warren's. The Godfather said that it would be easy to get in since he had guys on the inside working there. All I had to do was mention the Godfather and they'd let me in. I thanked him and left with the goons. We drove up to Warren's office at the city hall. The place looked heavily guarded with cameras and officers. Chad said to let him and Jury do the talking. It was around 11:30, which meant we had a half an hour to get into Warren's office before he returns from lunch. Once there, Chad and Jury will pretend to be guard while waiting outside. Inside, I'll be waiting for him with a pistol silencer. We walked up to the front desk. Chad did the talking. I overheard him mention the Godfather, and the lady at the desk nodded her head and went off. Later, Chad told me she would sabotage the cameras to erase any evidence we were here. And just like that, we were in. We searched around for a couple guards on break and took care of them. After that, Jury and Chad stole their clothes and found Warren's office. Jury and Chad said that they'd wait outside, so I have to be the one that takes the shot. It was fine by me. I walked in and turned on the lights. I closed the blinds and turned off the lights. I removed the bulb. I went to sit at his desk. There, I waited, my pistol in hand, in the pitch black dark, with the only light coming out was from the blinds. All of a sudden, I started having second thoughts about this. Killing a boss was different than just killing a goon. But I changed my mind when I found his diary. On it, it said, "Tonight I'm going to get Chirag's thugs to kill that guy Frank. Also, I've heard his bitch son thinks he's in the Mafia. Maybe Chirag will send Fregley to kill him. I have no regrets for what I did. One day, this bitch of a son will have the world and everything in it. And that is a promise that I will keep." On the way back from putting one between Warren's eyes, we drove by the Papa John's, which reminded Chad to give me something. As I parked the car, Chad took out a briefcase from the trunk. He gave it to me and said that if I ever wanted to truly join the Italians, then I should show up to one of their meetings wearing what was inside of the briefcase. I opened it, and inside was a suit that was identical to the ones they were wearing. It was beautiful, but I'll keep it off for now, for old man. Before they left though, I had one question. Who the hell is Chirag? Oh shit. They told me that his full name is Chirag Gupta, leader of the Indian Mafia. He's apparently known to be the most non-violent mafia leader in America. Yet, in Warren's diary, he states otherwise. He also mentions Fregley working for Chirag. But if Fregley works for Chirag, then that means the Indian Mafia has been indirectly attacking us with Fregley's goons. No wonder they were able to take on the mob. I sped back to the estate to tell Alex Aruda the news, but I stopped at the gates. A bunch of guys were waiting outside for me, with Thompsons. I was expecting the worst until Tyson walked out of the crowd and tapped on my window. "You know about the kids in the basement? Hey Greg, we know what you've been doing, and we want in." Apparently, some goon snitched to Tyson about my involvement with the Italians. So Tyson threw that guy's body in a creek and found a bunch of guys who were sick of Alex Aruda treating a bunch of Asian guys in T-Wang or something better than his own employees in the home front. They wanted me to be their boss, because I had the money to lead. It turns out, Alex Aruda had made these guys do all kinds of terrible stuff, like kill kids, blow up hospitals, buy tickets to Endgame and not show up. He made me fuck a cow. What you do with your mom is none of our business. The point is, they wanted Alex gone, and me as the head of the Mafia. I was psyched at first, and then I realized there was only like 10 guys out of the hundreds of people working for the Mafia. I said that I was on board with taking them out, but we needed more manpower in order to do it. So for now, we have to recruit more people on my side before we do anything about Alex. Before I went inside, I asked them why they had Thompsons, in case you declined the offer, the same way your dad declined a stronger condom. Before I went inside, I went to the estate's graveyard. This place was reserved for people who've impacted and helped the business in ways that a normal goon could never do. I walked up to one of the graves at the far edge of the cemetery, where all the fresh ones were dug. I sat next to him. I sat next to old man. "Hey, how you doing? Still dead?" "Okay." They found his body a couple days after the raid. His head was gone, but it was enough to bury. I wasn't able to attend the funeral because Alex sent me to do a drug deal. It wasn't fair. He wouldn't even let me go to his damn funeral. I goddamn watched him die. Sometimes I feel like there was something I could have done to save him. I wish he was here to help me figure this stuff out. Well, the old man would have wanted me to stop Fregley, right? So I guess I'll just tell Alex the news. I asked around where Aruda was. Some guy said he was in his office, so I checked there. I made a mistake. Get out. Get out now. Ooh, Alex, why you stop Yif? So I thought to myself, yeah, I think I can do this myself. All was fine until he mentioned him again. Oh, by the way, Fregley called me. Alex, is he leaving or will he Yif too? So apparently Fregley's waiting in another town just to come and get me, bitch. Yeah, it's a trap. But this time, I'm gonna out-trap his trap. with an ambush. I got Christopher Brownfield to get out to the town where Fregley was waiting. When he asked me why he had to go, I told him it was to prove himself to me or some bullshit. Tyson said the only way to get to that town was to take the highway, which meant he'd have to go through a toll booth. Apparently we got guys working there, so all I got to do was to make a couple phone calls, so that when he mentions that Alex Aruda sent him, they'll let him in free. This feels like too much. Oh really? Is that what you said to your boyfriend last night? After that, I sent Chris on his merry way to kill Fregley. I also got some goons to find out where Chirag will be. I'm gonna see if any of these morons know how to use a sniper rifle. I was ready to take on the world, but Tyson stepped in and said that it seemed like I was getting kinda stressed out from all this Mafia stuff, and if I wanted to get a drink at the pub. He insisted on it. I was down for it. Tyson and I hit the pub after getting some things straightened out. It was around 9 p.m., so there was still a lot of people around on the streets. I honestly can't remember the last time I went out on the streets without carrying a gun. I guess it's been a while. Once there, we found some seats by the bar. Tyson ordered a shot of tequila for us both. Before we got too shit-faced, I wanted to get to know more about Tyson. I mean, he's a nice guy, and he's more or less the only friend I got in the business. So, how'd you end up in the Mafia? Well, my mom and dad died in a car crash a couple years ago. I ended up in organized crime when I was with a gang, and we found a Mafia guy who asked the simple question of, "You guys want a job, man?" From that day, we were hired as killers for the Mafia. All my original mates are dead, and I'm the last one. Tyson downed a shot as I asked him what his big dream in life was. He hesitated to tell me, but before he told me, he asked me to keep a secret. I agreed to take it to my grave. He downed another drink and told me that his big dream was to end organized crimes by means of an underground war. I asked Tyson why someone who makes a career in the Mafia would want it to end. He said that he wasn't even legally allowed to drink, yet he has killed at least 124 people in the last 3 years. Greg, we're not even goddamn men, but we have done enough shit to throw us both in prison for life. He said that it was already too late for us to turn back, but if we could help stop others from joining this doomed business by any means, even if it meant war, he'd do it. I asked him what people he'd wanted to wage war on. His response? All of them. Every Mafia organization in the world. I was about to protest till something caught my eye on the TV. For the love of God, shoot my head! Breaking news, man shot to death Tuesday. Yeah, so good news and bad news. Good news is Warren's death has gotten Leland his position, so now the Mafia has the cops and the politicians under its belt. The bad news is, Alex Aruda found out about Christopher's death. He also found out that I was the one who dispatched Chris to kill A couple of goons came to get me this morning. They said that Alex wanted to talk. Fuck my life. I walked into Alex Aruda's office. He told me to take a seat next to him. When I sat down, a couple of guys with Thompsons came in and locked the doors behind us. Usually, Aruda only locks the doors when he wants to kill someone. Well, writing in this means that I didn't get whacked, but you know what? I kinda wish I did, after what happened. Alex Aruda told me that he was not angry, but sad. He was sad that I had taken his friendship and betrayed him by trying to give a command that was not mine to give. And not only that, but how that betrayal cost the life of one of his men. I tried to explain to him that he could have gotten Fregley if he succeeded, but he did not want to hear it. Don't lie to me, Heffley. It insults my intelligence. Look, all I'm saying is, if the bullets hadn't killed him, then the diabetes would. Alex said that he liked me, but he had seen my type before. A guy who went up the ranks too quickly for their own good, and they ended up getting cocky. They ended up crossing the good people who got them there in the first place. He was happy to figure it out before I did any real damage. He liked me, however, and promised that I would not be killed. Yet he had to make sure that this would never happen again. Alex snapped his fingers, and 2 big goons came from behind and grabbed my arms. The last thing I remember is Alex Aruda lighting a smoke with a smug grin on his face. It's nothing personal, Greg. It's just business. The goons tied my hands up and led me outside. Once there, one of them ripped my shirt off and started beating me with a baseball bat. Please stop. If you can still talk, then we're not even halfway done. That bat, that wooden bat. I thought it would break at one point and spare me the trouble of a slow death, but it didn't. Every hit felt worse than the one before. It all went by so fast. First, he struck my back with a couple blows. I felt like my ribs were gonna break, so I tried rolling on my side, but he wouldn't let me. Every time I tried to get up, he'd strike my head, causing me to collapse. I couldn't hear anything besides the ringing in my head and unintelligible words I was trying to say. The bat. That bat. I can still feel it hitting my skull as I write this. If I had a gun, I would have put one in my head before thinking about putting one in theirs. I blacked out for a second. The next thing I knew, I was back inside in the mansion with a bunch of my followers surrounding me, with Alex Aruda saying something. I think it was, and that's a story of how this young lad lost his virginity to a cactus. Yeah, I'm not sure that's exactly what he said, but I think I had a concussion, so I don't think I was going to remember everything he said. I blacked out again. I heard yelling and saw bright lights. Next thing I knew, I was in the estate hospital. The estate has its own hospital, because most of the guys here would probably be arrested in under 5 minutes if they went to a public one. When I finally came to my senses, I was in bed with Tyson Sanders by my side. Was I fucked by a cactus? Oh god, it's worse than I thought. Tyson said that Alex Aruda had came into the lobby with some goons carrying my body, claiming that I was jumped by Fregley's gang. He said that he had seen something like this before. It was meant to remind the guys that they were under Alex Aruda's protection, and without him, they were fair game. I didn't care. I was just glad he was here. Tyson said that he saw what really happened, and that he would tell the guys right away. But then I got a better idea. What if we tell them what Alex already told them, except we changed the perspective? Where are you going with this? I told Tyson not to tell the guys the truth, for that would make them fear Alex, knowing that their boss would beat or kill them for being suspicious. No. I wanted him to ask the guys why should they stay with Alex if his protection couldn't even save me, a higher up, from a couple of gang goons, using his own lie against him. That's pretty smart, man. Old man would be proud. Yeah, I bet he would. That was then I realized, the shirt, the one old man gave me, the shirt that I was wearing, the shirt that the goons... I asked Tyson Sanders to do me a favor before he left to relay the message to the guys. I asked for him to bring me 2 things, the suitcase I had in the car and a disposable phone. He left and came back with what I asked for. He was about to ask me what was in the suitcase, so I asked him to leave and to make sure a bodyguard is stationed at my door. He came back one last time with a gun and this journal, saying that he noticed that I like to write in this thing a lot. I thanked him, and Tyson left. Every breath I take feels like a dagger to my lungs. Daggers I hope to one day kill all the people that have put me here. Fregley, Alex, all of them. I will have the world and everything in it. Right now though, I must focus on surviving. I'm going to put this thing away for now. My hand's starting to cramp up. July. Sunday. It's been a while since I last wrote in this thing. Mostly because I've been recovering ever since the incident with Alex. However, my entire day changed when one of my goons came into my room with some important news. Sir, we found him. Don't call me sir. Call me Gregulus. Mr. Gregulus. He told me that they were given a lead where Chirag would be tonight. I told them to get a sniper and dismissed him. If I'm going to take this bastard out, I want to do it right. I opened up the suitcase and put on the suit. It felt good. Something I never thought I needed until I got it. If I'm going to wear such a magnificent suit though, I need an equally magnificent weapon to go with it. But which to choose? I went down to the armory and picked out a simple yet powerful weapon. A Magnum 715 This was better than that shit M9 Alex gave me. Just looking in the mirror with this thing along with my suit. This is just the best damn thing ever. I look badass. You look like how 3rd graders feel when they complete their first mission in Vice City. I know Tyson was joking, but you know what? That's the best damn feeling in the world. I went outside where my goon and sniper were waiting for me by my car. I made sure my goon got in and started the car first, as a precaution. I've kinda gotten paranoid from the time Tyson placed a car bomb on that truck a while back. The idea of being killed without even knowing you're already dead has kinda gotten to me. I don't know why though, I guess I'll get over it, eventually. Hey Gregulus, are you sure you don't want to drive? Stop calling me that. Only pricks and 7-year-old gamers call themselves dumb shit like that. More or less the same people. The sniper guy goon hired was kinda weird. He tried not to make eye contact with me and rode shotgun. He was wearing a ski mask too, so I had no idea who he was. That was fine. I thought, if he dies, then that means I won't have to know actually who's dead. At least, that's what I thought. We left at 11 a.m. The rendezvous point was in the city. The city's most crime-ridden area, just 20 minutes away from Plainview. The place has big buildings and apartments, so most crime and drug dealers occur here. A perfect spot for scum like Chirag to meet up. Goon parked the car near the rendezvous point. The point was apparently on the roof of an apartment near one of Leland's factories. Goon told me that the sniper knew who the target was and that all I needed was a pair of binoculars to watch his head pop. We were on our way till, "Excuse me, Skew, what's in your bag?" "Scram, gringo, you're adopted." Well, the kid started crying and screaming that the scary man with the black face and scar was going to hurt him. Yeah, that doesn't sound too good. So Sniper decided to commit some good old-fashioned homicide. He pulled out a knife and told me that he was going to carve this kid like a pumpkin. I stopped him and told him that we have standards. He yelled at me, saying that if we let the kid live, then he was evidence that we were here. And if we were here, then that meant we could be blamed for the death of a mob leader. We're the Mafia, fuckwit. Have some morals and be professional. But if we let him live, then what kind of animal kills an innocent kid? He was about to protest some more until I flashed him my gun. That got him to shut up. "Hey man, put that thing away." Look, I just think that if you don't have a set of morals or a limit in the Mafia, then you have as much humanity as the guns we used to kill. Anyways, we made our way to the building. We made our way up to the fire escape all the way to the roof. There, we could see where Chirag was going to be. One of Warren's buildings. He was supposed to be on the 3rd floor. The building was 400 meters away, so I took out my binoculars and scanned the building. Sure enough, he was there. Want to guess who was there too? Kill him. Shove a ploopy down his throat. Those bastards looked like they were laughing their asses off. I didn't understand why, until they took out a pair of their own binoculars. It was then that I realized that my sniper hadn't set up the gun yet. Hell, he wasn't even in front of me anymore. That piece of scum was going to go for a backstab, like the cowards he worked for. Unfortunately, he failed to understand a concept as old as time. Don't bring a dumbass to a gunfight. I had a few seconds to react, but a few seconds was enough time for me. I've been practicing my quick draw. I got a good look at his face and I realized that this guy was the same goon I had spared a few weeks ago. Fuck you, man. This goon, the same fucking human being I decided not to kill, came back around to just fuck me in the ass and get himself killed anyways. The poor fool coughed up some more blood, and with his last bit of strength, he popped me the finger. He collapsed, falling down the building. I don't get it. Even though I had the gun in his mouth, I could have blown his brains out right then and there. I didn't because I did not want to take the life of someone who had done nothing. And how does he repay my kindness? By literally trying to stab me in the back. As I am writing this, laying down in the comfort of my bed, I ponder if the idea of killing the child wasn't as far-fetched as it was at the time. Will that child come back to kill me in the future? No. I should not think like that. Not like him. Anyways, the bastard hit the sidewalk. His head popped open like a ketchup packet. Chirag and Fregley must have thought this would happen, because in less than 3 seconds, a bullet hit right next to my foot. I wasted no time looking for where the bullets came from and made my way down the building. I passed the street meet as I made my getaway. I made my way to the car. Goon asked what happened to the sniper. I ignored the question and told him that it was a damn setup. A bullet shattered the back window. We turned our heads to see 3 trucks of goons. One of them popped their heads out of the passenger window and started firing. I turned around and yelled at the dumbass to floor it. If these bastards were going to try to kill me, I wanted to take a couple of them with me. Those bastards were gaining on us. They had better guns and faster wheels, but we had a head start. We drove our way out of the city, yet by that time I was down to only 3 bullets left, and I did not want to waste them on fucking goons. That's when my goon chimed in with a solution. "Hey boss, I think there's a grenade in the glove compartment." "What? Don't you think that's fucking important information?" I opened up the glove compartment and there it was. I'd like to know what the circumstances were for there to be a grenade, but I did not care. I was about to reach for it, but I think one of those goons decided to get good, because before I knew it, my goon had a bullet in his head. I wiped the blood off my face and tried moving the corpse to the side so I could get the wheel, but it was already too late. The car came up on a turn, and without the wheel, the car came crashing into a ditch. I grabbed onto my seatbelt and braced for impact as the corpse crashed through the windshield. The car kept on going, only to be stopped by a tree. For some reason that I can only assume was a work of God, I was completely unharmed. I got the grenade off the floor and made my way to the road. I stopped at the top of the ditch and waited for them to get closer. I heard the faint sound of engines getting closer and closer, until that faint sound was like the beating of a drum. I heard a man yell commands at some goons. Fregley. The drum stopped. Doors opened and closed. Footsteps. The sound of a Glock being cocked. It was do or die. Oh, I'm on page 69. Nice. The bastard got me in the arm, yet I got him in the head, and I got my grenade over to the cars. I didn't know exactly how powerful this grenade was, but I believe the explosion went something like this. When I looked up from the ditch, all I could see were burning bodies and blown up cars on a messed up road. Nothing but corpses except for one moving, living person. This guy was crawling from a flipped car, and it looked like his legs had been crushed by a vehicle. I moved in to get a closer look, and you know who it was? Chirag. I gotta tell you, seeing this worm crawl kinda made me laugh. But he was still alive, and I could not allow that to go on. I walked over to the worm, with a bleeding arm and an urge to kill. He noticed me and began to cry, like a bitch. It was actually kind of insulting, that I had to waste a bullet. What the hell are you? I'm a 16-year-old drug dealer who wants to blow your brains out. I'm Greg Heffley. That's who, dumbass, not what. Well, can't say the asshole didn't get what was coming to him. That should have been the best damn moment of my entire life, but one slow clap had to ruin it all. I turned my attention to the cocky piece of shit. And of course, out of all the people that could survive the explosion, that cock-sucking ploopy. Fregley came walking behind the flipped car, cocking his Glock. We stood there on the burning road with a corpse between us. Fregley stood there, chuckling to himself with his pistol aimed high. He asked, Greg, before I kill you, I have one question to ask. Why have you devoted so much of your time trying to personally fuck me in the ass? I told him about Old Man, and how ever since that day I've been working to this moment to exact my revenge. But he didn't see it that way. When I first met you, Greg, you were but a pawn in a game that you didn't even understand. Now, you've come to face me. But the only thing that's changed since then are the clothes on your back. My hand shook on the trigger. I was about to fire, until he told me something that made my hand shake. Even as I write this, he chuckled, You're so stupid that you don't even know who ratted out Old Man. I lowered my gun and let out a silent, what? I realized that I sounded like a mouse, and yelled, What the fuck did you just say? Fregley answered with a simple question that I had neglected to ask myself this whole damn time. Who kidnapped Old Man in the first place? I had always just assumed Fregley's goons had just found him. But now that I think about it, how could a couple of goons kidnap one of the heads of the Mafia just by finding him? Who did it? Who ratted him out? Sorry, Heffley, but you won't live long enough for that to matter. Fregley got ready to duel, his Glock versus my revolver. We stood there, waiting for each other to fire first. Whoever fired first would have to hit the other guy, but if he misses, then they're as good as dead. A few seconds we stood on the burning road felt like an eternity. I tuned out the fire, my thumping heart, everything. Once again, it was do or die. My hand cannon got him so badly that he fell over. He was breathing heavily as he put his hand to his gut. He raised his hand to his face as he got a sense of what was happening to him. Like a wounded gazelle that just got shot and didn't even know what was happening to it. Now, like so many of his victims, Fregley was on the ground with a hole in his gut. There was no one there to save his ass from death. It was over. The end. He knew it too. His eyes said everything for him. He had lost. As I approached him, he looked at me and pointed his pistol at me. You missed me. Yeah, tell that to the gaping hole in your chest. No, you missed my head. I explained to the poor bastard that I wasn't going to kill him. After all, I needed him alive for interrogation on who ratted out Old Man. He laughed. Then you might as well blow my brains out, because the only person who knows that info is the goon that he gave the location to. And you probably killed him. I pointed my gun at his head. I was ready to finally put this ass in hell. Unfortunately, well, someone hasn't been counting their bullets, but I've been counting mine. He got up. That beast got up and laughed. He said that he had one bullet left, and he knew who he was going to kill with it. I thought that was it. No one was there to save me this time. No last minute Mafia raid, no last minute save from one of my goons. It was me against Fregley, and I'd lost because of one bullet. But I couldn't be killed here. Not when I was so damn close. For once in my miserable life, I did not feel anger nor pity toward another human being. I felt cold, suffocating, fear. I couldn't do anything except wait for him to pull the trigger and put a bullet in my skull. He raised his gun to my head, but something happened. Something I still think about as I write this. He noticed Chirag's corpse and then looked back at me. He lost his grin, replaced with a tired frown. He chuckled and spoke. "Oh, cheer up, Greg. Once I'm gone, there will be another replacement waiting for me. There's one for all of us. That's the curse of this business. In the end, we are all just pawns, expendable by design. You've earned my respect, and that's why I'm ending this." Damn. Who'd thought that the best advice I'd ever been given would be from Fregley? Either way, I was completely convinced that I was about to die, until Fregley spoke again and said his final words. "There's only one way out of this game, and that's a bullet to the head." The sick fuck put a gun to his jaw. I tried to stop him. I couldn't let the only person who knew who double-crossed old man die like this. Not without getting a little information, and certainly not by any hand except for mine. But it was already too late. Fregley pulled the trigger and the hammer struck hot. Hey, wait, no! I stood there, only being able to watch as the man who had helped orchestrate the death of my parents and friend, and the man who had tricked me and caused the death of others in the process. The man who had such a hard grip on this town that it caused grown men to cower in fear at the mention of his name was now nothing. Just another corpse on the road. I could hear the sounds of sirens in the distance, probably responding to the smoke emitted from the cars. I didn't care. I just wanted to soak up the moment. I didn't think that Fregley's death would occur this way. Not like this. He had me at his mercy, even at death. I couldn't even kill him myself, so what does that make of me? A failure? I still got my revenge, yet I do not feel satisfied because of it. Hell, the only reason I wanted to get my revenge in the first place was because Fregley killed old man. Yet in the process of trying to avenge one person, I ended up killing more people than I ever wanted to do in my entire life. So I had to ask myself, was this all worth it? I returned to the estate. The goons at the gate didn't hesitate to let me in, which was a nice surprise. I walked into the building and my goons swarmed me, asking if I needed a medical kit, some water, or a damn vibrator. It was ridiculous. I shoved them away looking for Tyson. He came to my aid and called for a nurse. They sat me down on a sofa and treated my arm. Tyson said that he was glad to see me alive. Hold up, what happened to your goons? One got turned into street meat and the other got his head turned into mashed potatoes. If I had a third that got crippled, then I would have a Thanksgiving plate. I told him that I iced Chirag. I didn't even tell him about Fregley, because he didn't need to know that yet. He was happy to hear that a head leader of the Mafia was dead. Tyson thanked me and suggested we celebrate with a drink. We made our way to the estate bar. I made other goons leave us as we sat down to enjoy ourselves. Tyson ordered a bottle of tequila for both of us. I downed 3 glasses before I even said a word. Tyson asked what was wrong and if I had anything on my mind. To be honest, I was just glad he cared. I told Tyson Sanders about Fregley and how even though I got my revenge, I didn't feel like anything was solved. He patted me on the back and said that maybe it was not because I got my revenge that I didn't feel fulfilled, but instead because I hadn't got revenge on everyone who had done me wrong. And you know what? I think he's right. Thinking about revenge, I told Tyson about what Fregley told me before his death, that there could be a mole amongst us. He contemplated this. He looked down at his drink and asked if Fregley gave any names. He seemed nervous, sweating a lot and breathing heavy. I asked him if he was alright, and he responded by falling onto the floor. He poisoned me. Wait, which one of you is Greg Heffley? Tyson could barely breathe. I couldn't let him die. Not like this. I smashed the bottle and yelled for my goons to get in and apprehend this bastard. But he came prepared. The bastard hit me with a damn frozen condom filled with what I think must have been soda. But I wasn't going to let some goon that would rather bring this excuse of a weapon to a fight instead of a gun kill me. I embraced him, and in doing so, I brought the shank to his gut and headbutted him, breaking his nose. Like father, like son, you both don't know how to use a condom. What's a condom? My goons came in and called in nurses for Tyson and beat the guy who poisoned him. I made sure those guys kept him alive. I'm going to make sure he suffers. As for Tyson, I made sure that he got to the estate ER as quick as possible. The poor guy was foaming and his eyes were bloodshot, but he was alive. And that's what mattered. I helped carry Tyson to the operating table, but they cleared us all out so the doctors could operate. I begged the nurses to let me back in, but one of them gave me attitude. And after all of what happened today, I really didn't want to hear it. Listen, you little bitch. If he flatlines even for 1 second, I'm going to go to your house, shove your head up your cunt, bend you over and fuck you in the ass. Okay, what the fuck is Greg going on about right now, man? It had been a long day, so I spent the rest of my afternoon in my study, writing in my journal. It helps to calm me down. I fear that I'm losing it, but I have to keep going. For them. Wednesday. It's been a few days since Chirag's death. News of a high-ranking Mafia boss being killed has spread throughout the crime world. It was so dramatic that now the Triad all the way back in China want to stop working with us, with the fear of this town being too dangerous for business. Due to this, Aruda had to personally go to China to persuade them to stick with us. He left this morning, stating that he'll be gone for a week, and until he returns, Scotty Douglas will be in charge. You have my orders to publicly castrate anyone who talks about the murder of Chirag Gupta, and you better take pictures of what you cut off if you do. Scotty is just some puppet that Alex uses to spy on the goons he doesn't like. I make sure the little shit stays 50 feet away from me at all times. His brother, Evan, is the equivalent of a 3rd grader trying to act like a thug in front of their parents. They're both just goons. It's almost too easy. It just didn't make sense. Why would Alex leave a couple of goons in charge instead of someone like Leland? I don't care. I don't think it'll even be a problem. Wait, is it problem or problem? Shit, if only I didn't flunk out of school. All I had to do was make their death seem like an accident, make an amazing speech or some dumb stuff, and win over the favor of the Mafia. Hell, judging by the amount of men that came to my aid yesterday, I think a good portion of the Mafia works for me. But that's not enough. I need someone like Leland on my side to take full control. I was trying to form a plan when I heard a certain someone out the window. Hold up, this guy stole 50 dogs and did what with them? Yeah, if you like puppy videos, then I probably shouldn't tell you. It was Jury from the Italian Mafia. I hadn't seen him for a while, so I was a bit confused to see him at the gates of the estate talking with the gatekeeper. I went down to talk. He had some wonderful news to tell me. Due to the death of Chirag, the heads of the Mafia decided to have an emergency meeting here in Plainview. And when I mean heads of the Mafia, I don't just mean like a Mafia leader in a state. These people were the Mafia leaders of their entire country. These people were the highest rung of the ladder, the big boss. To name a few, the head of the Russian Mafia, the head of the English Mafia, the head of the Italian Mafia, the Godfather. Wait, I thought they all hate each other. Well, Greg, when somebody manages to kill a big leader of the Mafia, and that person ends up not being the police, then people start pointing fingers. Basically, they were trying to prevent a war. He had come to get Aruda due to the suspicion surrounding him with his involvement against the local gangs. Apparently, the word was that Chirag had been trying to help the gangs with some bullshit program that was meant to give them a better education or something, which I called total bullshit on. I told Jury to stay where he was. I ran back to get Warren's old diary. I had to keep it as a trophy. I flipped through it, and sure enough, there was shit in here that would make even Harvey Weinstein blush. Not only that, but there was also plenty of evidence written in this book proving that Chirag used Fregley's gang to indirectly attack the Mafia. And just my luck, the damn fool signed every page that he finished like some grade school wimp. I ran back and showed the journal to Jury. He gagged when he read the part where Warren and Chirag had an orgy with a bunch of... You know what? If anyone ever finds this when I'm dead, I don't want them to know my pain. Jerry ran back to his car and yelled for me to get in with him. He asked me what happened to Alex before we left. I told him that he was either at the airport or at a dog shelter doing things. Hey Jerry, by the way, what's in the bag? You see, if Aruda had declined to go to the meeting, I would have had to use persuasion. Persuasion is what I call my rocket launcher. You representing him is just as good though. We sped down to the city and parked next to a big building. There were a bunch of fancy looking cars in the parking lot being protected by guys who could probably kill me with their bare hands. Jury told me that if I had any weapons or phones, then I should just leave them in the car. If they found one on me, then my ass would probably end up on someone's mantle. I won't go into detail on how tight security was entering the building, but let's just say I know what it's like to be touched by a man. Jeez, that guy was really hard on my balls. Greg, that guy's a janitor. We made our way to the conference room. There, Mr. Beardo was waiting for us in a lovely chair. I kissed his hand and thanked him for sending Jury. He was confused though, asking why I was here and not Aruda. Jerry explained to him the situation. The Godfather looked worried. I asked him if he was alright. He stood up, put his hands on my shoulders, and told me that I was as good as dead. I asked him what he meant by that, and how come I was gonna die. Mr. Beardo sat back down and told me that the reason they wanted Alex in the first place was to direct the blame towards him. The idea was to get the Mafia leaders to stop pointing fingers at each other and hate Alex. They probably would have beaten him, killed him afterwards, and that would have been the end of it. I am sorry, Gregory, but these people are angry, and they want someone to be angry at. But Godfather, who called for this meeting? Mr. Beardo told me to sit down, and the meeting was beginning to start. Men and women who carried themselves high came in and filled the seats. Their bodyguards stood close to them. At the far end of the table sat an Indian man who looked well over 50. Once everyone got comfortable and poured some cups of wine, the man addressed himself as Mr. Gupta, Chirag Gupta's father. Mr. Gupta thanked Mr. Beardo for helping to organize the meeting. He grabbed a glass of wine and drank it. He went and thanked a few others. I would also like to thank Eduardo Malone from the English Mafia, Emilio Mendoza from the Spanish Mafia, Noah Hills from the German... Hold up, you're not Mr. Hills. The German Mafia leader ended up being a woman. She looked like she was in her 20s, so she looked out of place with all the other middle-aged men. Then again, I legally can't drive till next year. Mine apologies, sir. Mine Vater was killed with cyanide the other day. Lord knows who did it. So I came instead. And who are you? Heather Hills, his daughter. Her father, Mr. Hills, was apparently killed in an assassination. She laughed when they said they didn't know who did it. She is one creepy bitch, I'll tell you that. Anyways, Mr. Gupta continued, mentioning the heads of the Russian and French mob. The heads of the Asian mob like China and Japan couldn't make it due to domestic territory disputes and government involvement. Mr. Gupta drank another glass of wine and got to the point. How could this happen? My own son, killed in cold blood on the streets like some dog. He never hurt anyone, never cheat or kill. He just wanted to help out the young boys and girls in this town. How was he repaid? With his head being blown to bits. Now I have to bury him, my own son. Do you know what it's like for a father to have to bury his child? He went on about how Chirag came to America to do some good in the world. He didn't want to hurt anyone, so he left the mob. He was the kindest guy ever. He was Jesus. Blah, blah, blah. What an amazing lie that was. I was about to say something until he mentioned Alex Aruda. He stated that Alex Aruda was practically invisible in the mob world. He went on about how Alex Aruda had a motive to kill his son, and that the motive was to move up in the Mafia ranks by killing a big boss. He called him a coward, and he's not wrong. I kinda saw what point he had about Alex until he mentioned Warren. He said that Warren had worked with Chirag to help people, and he was killed too. But it was because of Warren's death that they decided to place high-tech cameras around the areas owned by Warren's company to identify any suspicious characters. And just so happens that a guy with a scar on his head was on the streets running away from something while holding a gun, was spotted on the same day that Chirag died. I knew where he was going with this. Apparently so did Jury, because he grabbed my arm and told me that I wasn't safe here. I mean, before I probably would have gotten some beratement for working with Chirag, but now I was screwed if they recognized me. We made our way to the door, but then Mr. Gupta finally got to the end of his speech and stated that he was glad that he finally had Alex Aruda in custody, so he could be apprehended for sending a hit on his son. Hold the fuck up! Where's Alex? Mr. Gupta was first upset at Mr. Beardo for failing to bring in Alex Aruda, but then he got a good, long look at my scar. He paused, sat down, and shook his head. Well, this is quite unexpected. I asked for a coward, and instead I get a man who's got the guts to stand before me after killing my son. Jury whispered in my ear, Greg, did you actually kill his son? I nodded yes. He put his hand on his forehead and told me that if I wanted to get out of this alive, I'd have to explain myself. I sighed and walked to the table. I poured myself a glass of wine. I admitted that I killed Chirag Gupta, but not for the reasons that they expected. I told them about the local gangs in Plainview and how their existence was proof that Chirag was a liar. For instance, how could a gang be able to take on such a well-organized crime syndicate such as the Mafia? Because of Fregley? No, because they were founded and supplied by Chirag's Indian Mafia. The reason why none of them were ever arrested? Because Warren had the cops and judges in his pockets. It was a perfect way to own a town. I drank my glass of wine, letting my words sink in. Some of them started talking to each other, which meant they were thinking, and if they were thinking, then that meant I could get them in my favor. However, Mr. Gupta was thinking as well and objected to my claims by asking for proof. Yet I was 2 steps ahead and pulled out my trump card, Warren's diary. Diary of a corrupt bastard. The thing that gave it away though was Warren's own damn signature at the end of every entry, and that man's cursive would even make a doctor confused. Well, at least those orphan girls will be starting a family soon. Miss Hills, the fuck? Not only all of the scandals, the indirect Mafia attacks, it also had the original entry of Warren deciding to send a hit on my parents. Enough of this nonsense. Who the hell are you? What gave you the right to kill my son? I'm a 16-year-old drug dealer who killed your son. I'm Greg Heffley, and the reason he's dead was because he fucked with someone who we didn't think would fuck him back. Mr. Gupta sat down and called over one of his goons. He whispered something to them and sent them away. He then looked at me and told me to come over, saying he wanted to show me something. He asked me if I was into politics. I said yes. He then asked me who was my favorite world leader. I said the first thing that came to my mind, Donald Trump. He nodded to one of his goons. The bastard nodded back and dialed someone on his phone. He spoke Hindi, as Gupta took out a phone of his own. He went onto a website live streaming Donald Trump giving a speech. Gupta said that he had met many people like me before. Cocky, young, naive. It was common for him to see. But one thing that he has made sure for them to understand is that they're not talking to a man. They're talking to a god. Oh Lord, the president has been shot! He snapped his fingers. A goon came over and punched me in the gut. He punched the back of my head and grabbed my neck. He leaned in and told me that if I ever raised my voice to him again, my head would be on his wall. That he wasn't just some thug leader of a gang. He was the head of the Indian Mafia. He could influence nobodies to become leaders of entire countries, and could do the opposite by making world leaders get taken out. He could even take an extra step and make it as if they never existed to begin with. All of that with a snap of his fingers. Listen carefully, Greg. The only reason I don't kill you right here and right now is because I have to clean up the mess my son made. I wouldn't want to waste my time mopping the blood of a wannabe kingpin off a perfectly clean floor. Mr. Beardo got upset and told him to let me go. He smirked and released me from his grasp. Fuck me. If it wasn't for the Godfather, Gupta probably would have popped my head off. I'd forgotten what it was like to be below someone. I staggered to my feet and walked away. Jerry told me that it was time to leave. I didn't argue with him. On our way out, I got a glimpse of that girl, Heather Hills. She was giggling. I was being choked out, and that crazy bitch thought it was funny. These mobsters are fucked up. Before we left the building, Jerry said that he had to use the bathroom. I sat down in the lobby waiting for him to finish up. While there, I noticed a girl reading a book. I was the only guy there, so I decided to make some small talk. Yo, what are you reading? Mein Kampf. Well, I made a mistake talking. She laughed and said that she didn't actually like the book. Her sister apparently makes her read this kind of stuff for nationalistic reasons, so I guess she's not Jewish. I feel like I should make a Nazi joke, but saying a Nazi joke out loud doesn't sound right. At least she's not in the KKK. She put the book down and introduced herself. Her name was Holly. I told her my name, and that I was the Greg Heffley, and that I was here for an important meeting. Holly laughed and said that she had never heard of a 13-year-old say they were at an important meeting. A 16-year-old in a Mafia meeting is Dai's JoJo? What? I'm 16. Okay, I won't even lie, I don't even begin to understand what the fuck was trying to be said right there, so we'll just go with what I said. At first I was angry at this girl for age-shaming me, but then I thought, holy crap, does she watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventures? I asked her if she did, and Holly said yes. She said that it was one of her only shows that her sister lets her watch. I asked if she liked part 3, cause that's one of my favorites, but she responded with, there's more than 2? Yeah, so it turns out her sister only lets her watch part 2 and 5, and any fan of JoJo knows that these parts have the mob and Nazis. I wanted to talk to her more, but a goon came between us and told me to beat it. I slipped her my number and left. I just want to take a break for a moment to get some stuff off my chest. Something's been bugging me ever since I killed Fregley. Should I keep going? Should I continue this endless battle? This battle against Alex, Gupta, Fregley, all of them. It's like, every time I kill someone, I feel like I'm closer to winning. But every time, I fail. I think to myself, can I truly win? How will I know when I won? Will I feel content or emptiness? Is there a reason to keep going besides survival? If I stop now, Aruda will find a way to kill me. Yet, if I continue going, I will grab unwanted attention from Gupta. How many more people need to die because of me? How many more will I have to kill? Who will kill me? Fregley killed himself, and he had me on the ropes. He could have put one in my head, ending what suffering I had. The suffering from this business, from the Mafia. I never asked to become like this. I never wanted to kill so many people. I just wanted to be me. Greg Heffley. The world will be mine. But at what cost? I know I'm more than just a pawn in all of this, right? I guess it just comes down to what I choose. I just wish I knew which choice isn't the one that bites me in the ass. Plus, I could have a chance with Holly. Who knows? Maybe I'll get lucky with her. Jerry got out of the bathroom, drying his hands on his pants. When we got to the car, I asked him if he could drop me off at the estate, but he had other plans. Jerry said that he wanted to talk to me. I told him that any time on the phone would be good. He grabbed my shoulder and stated that it had to be now. I tried asking him what he wanted to talk about, but he just kept his eyes on the road. Whatever he had on his mind, it must have been serious, because he didn't say a word to me the whole car ride. I tried making small talk, but that didn't work either. Well, at least I didn't piss off the Russians, am I right? We arrived at a Papa John's. We walked inside and sat in the booth. I kinda wanted to see that awesome booth in the back again, but since Jerry was acting odd, I didn't mention it. I asked him if I could go up to order, but then he stopped me before I could finish. He asked me a not-so-subtle question. In school, were you in any special ed classes? What? No. Then why were you acting like a retard? He asked me again, did your mom ever make you wear a helmet when you were in grade school? I asked him where he was going with this. Jerry shook his head. He said that stunt I pulled back in the meeting was the saddest display of foolishness he had ever seen. I asked him what he meant by sad display. Listen, Greg, have you ever heard of the phrase, a gun and a smile will get you far, but a smile without a gun will get you farther than a gun without a smile? That quote sounded like something off a message board. You got your hairstyle off a message board, dumbass. Yet, what he meant was that the Mafia was more than just guns and gore. Now I was shocked to hear this, I know. He said that I also had to check on territories, drug dealing, weapons dealing, gambling, and all that fun stuff. But I couldn't just go around killing whoever I wanted. I testified that he had wanted a guy like me because of my natural talent and instinct to kill. But Jerry said that he had wanted a guy who could talk their way out of killing and negotiate. That if they wanted to work with some killer, they'd just go down to the street and hire a psychopath. Moron! I know what I said that day, but you have changed a lot since then. You become stupid and arrogant, walking around like you have power that you don't actually possess. You haven't lost your edge to kill. In fact, it's gotten worse. What you have lost is your brain, you idiot. I haven't seen you do anything productive in any way since that day except make enemies. All you have done is try to take over a puny Triad, yet you have no investors or backbones to keep you up except us. To make matters worse, you decided it's a good idea to kill the son of one of the biggest Mafia bosses in the world. Don't make me regret what I said to you, Greg, because we do not need another mindless pawn whose only trick is to pull the trigger. I hated hearing that word, like echoes in a cave. It dominated every other sound until it was all I could hear. Almost like an instinct, I reached for my revolver. I wasn't going to let this Goomba disrespect me after everything I've done for him and the Italians. But Jerry was 2 steps ahead. Greg, I've been in this business for half my life. I know when someone is going to pull out a piece. I lied, saying that I was just putting the gun on the table to show my loyalty. He didn't budge. I placed my revolver on the table, folded my hands, and told him that I would do anything for the Italians. He smiled, lowering his pistol, and said that he actually did have something in mind. Jerry stated that the Godfather wanted to call in a favor that I had made a while back. It was associated with Leland's power. The favor that the Godfather was asking me to do, convince Leland to work for the Italians. I asked him how that could possibly benefit me. Jerry just shook his head and said that it doesn't. I protested at first, but Jerry shook his head again and said, that's just how the Mafia works. Wait, but he works for us. Sorry, but that's just how the Mafia works. If I lose my chance to personally take control of Leland and just give him to the Godfather, it could mess up my plan. Yet, I couldn't risk losing my relations with the Italians. Half of the guys who work for me are affiliated with them. After that great conversation, he drove me back to the estate. I wasn't upset that he put me in this corner, but more impressed. Yet, he's right. Diplomacy is the only way I'll be able to take on the other mobs. Diplomacy is what got me here in the first place. And deep down, I know I'm better than them. But unfortunately, their guns are bigger than mine. Anyhow, I walked back into the estate. I saw Scotty Douglas on the phone, probably talking about how he's a little shit and could eat trash. I got some of my goons to come with me into the basement, because we had some work to do, that I couldn't do alone. Work that involved bats and nails. We headed down the stairs into a dark underbelly of the estate. I felt my hands against the wall until I felt a familiar shape of a light switch. I flicked on the lights and got a good look at him. The man who had tried to kill me the other day. The poor fool was tied up and gagged to a table, just like I had asked. His arms and legs were tied to a separate leg, with his gut being exposed. I walked up to him, removing his gag, and asked if he was finally willing to comply. He refused. "I'll tell you over my dead body." I choose my phrases more carefully if I were you, pal. This moron was obviously not going to talk unless I did something to persuade him. I know jury told me not to use violence or aggression for every situation. Why not now? I untied his hands from the table so he could sit up. Then I grabbed a chair from the back and asked the goon if he had a name. He told me to eat a dick. I ignored it and went on. I said that I'm a very powerful man and I can make anyone disappear, even the president. I can make Trump disappear, but that's impossible. You don't know what's impossible! He said that I was bluffing, so I nodded to one of my goons. He caught on to what I was doing, pretended to make a phone call. I proceeded to show the poor fool the video of Trump being assassinated, and he bought it. I went on how I can make whoever he wanted get sent to hell or more. He hesitated, but he finally gave in. His name was apparently Brent, and it turns out I was his first and probably last target. He's never even used poison before. Explains why he's so bad at it. I asked Brent who had hired him, and he had told me it was some goon who worked for Fregley. Apparently the guy was staying somewhere in the city, waiting for Brent to come back. He told me the address. I thanked him, but he asked if I was going to untie him. I gave it some more thought, and then decided I wouldn't. What? Why not? We had a deal. We didn't shake on it, so it wasn't official. Sorry. The actual reason I didn't let him live was because he almost killed Tyson. Plus, it wouldn't be a good message if I let my wannabe assassin get away with trying to kill me. You ever heard of a crucifix, Brent? Yeah? Why? Well, I call that inspiration. I called over my goons. One was carrying a hammer and the other a bucket of rusty nails. I felt kind of bad for Brent. He had no motivation to kill me besides money. Maybe I'll let him go if he figures out how to get out of the bottom of the lake with his hands and feet nailed to a table. Also, broken ribs. Did I mention the broken ribs? He was screaming really loud too, getting some attention from upstairs. Hopefully this will get me a little bit more respect. Sorry about the noise, that guy just really pissed me off. Why? What did he do? He gave my friend the wrong drink. Oh my god. I made my way to Tyson's room. The medic told me that Brent gave Tyson cyanide made back in the 70s, so he was gonna pull through. Right now they want him to stay in bed, but that doesn't really stop me from going in and saying hi. I stopped by a vending machine to get him some chips. Aruda had one installed to make money off the goons. What a jackass. There were a couple nurses tending to Tyson, so I asked them to leave. I needed to talk to him alone. I tossed him the chips. Tyson said that he was glad to finally eat some real food. I sat in the chair next to him and told Tyson about the meeting. I asked him if he'd be able to accommodate me to get the wise guy who sent the hit on my life. Tyson laughed. Greg, I almost got poisoned to death. I'd like to stay in bed for a while. I chuckled, told him that he could stay in there for as long as he'd like. I took a phone out and placed it in his chair. If he needed anything, all he had to do was call. Greg, I hope you stay safe and use your head. I know. And don't forget to count your bullets this time. Ah, shut up. What a bum. I rounded up a bunch of goons and said that I had a job for a skilled shooter. Maddox volunteered for it. Maddox was pissed though. He said that he didn't forget the time I ripped him off. I shut him up by giving him $1,000. I told him to meet me at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Maddox nodded, and the rest of them scattered to do some other shit. I know I should be sending another one of those morons to do this job for me, but this is personal. Besides, how hard can it be? Hold up, is this Monopoly money? Hasbro means 1,000 in Latin or something. Thursday, I met Maddox at the grounds. He started the car, and we hit the road. We got to the apartment in no time flat. The place was a bit run down, so some people gave us some weird looks, since we were wearing suits. We went inside and took the elevator. Maddox hadn't really said that much up to this point, so I made some small talk. You know, I'm kind of surprised that none of you guys tried to take out Aruda before, if none of you really liked him. It's not that we couldn't, Greg. Aruda is smart. He keeps smarter people around him so that they feel in power, until they outlive their purpose. It's fucking creepy, man. We got on the right floor and we made our way to the room. Brent said that it was room 445. We found it and knocked on the door. I asked if anyone was home, expecting for someone to yell at me something vulgar. rise and shine. Get the hell out here. I waited, but nothing. I put my ear to the door. I could make out the sound of a chair being kicked to the floor. When the chair fell, I could make out a man gagging from what sounded like lack of air. That didn't sound too good, so I hit the doorknob and broke my way in. What I saw was the saddest attempt at suicide I'd ever seen in my entire life. The fool didn't even tie the noose right. Maddox went to apprehend the moron. He had fallen on his back and was groaning. Unfortunately, I was so caught up with the guy on the floor, I didn't realize that it was a decoy. At least now I no longer owe Maddox any money. I dived to the floor and fired 2 rounds in the guy's head. He was carrying a submachine gun with a thick suppressor. I got up and wrapped zip ties over the shocked decoy's hands. He was mumbling some vulgar shit under his breath, but it was mainly because he was scared. Once I was finished with him, I went over to Maddox. The poor bastard. He couldn't even muster a grunt because his lungs were torn to bits. He was laying on his back, still alive. I could tell because he looked at me with his bare eyes, like a lifeless doll. The color from his face was no longer there to be seen, and instead it was a bored shade of white that only a ghost could have. With his last bits of strength, he mouthed the words to me, in the head. I understood perfectly. I was so pissed off. Not only had I managed to kill one of the guys who could have known who the rat is, yet now one of my top hitmen is dead. Given he wasn't that smart, but he was a sniper, how many of those do you find just chilling on the street? And I have to escort a guy in zip ties through a crowd of people that just heard gunshots. Fuck my life, man. I put my gun down to the bastard's head and demanded to know how he knew we would be there. He pointed to a telephone dangling off the table. What the fuck does a phone have to do with this? Oh my god, he called us and said you would come. I thought about retracing the call, but I heard people coming, and I have no idea how to do that with a telephone. I had brought a fake police badge in case this would happen, so I got this goon to his feet and told him if he said I was a gangster, I'd just say that he was on acid and kill him later. I turned him around, put the revolver to his back, and ordered him to move. A couple of guys came to the door, but I showed them my fake badge, and those dumb bastards fell for it. Yeah, this goon got my partner, but I got his too. Make sure no one goes in there, not even paramedics. They're probably gangsters. Dang. We made our way to my car, and I locked him in the trunk. I needed him alive, mainly because he was the only person who knew what that person sounded like on the telephone. The only way that guy knew we were coming was if the man on the phone was at the briefing last night. Once I got to the estate, I handed him to my goons. He was begging for us to let him go. He confessed right there that the man on the phone sounded exactly like the man who gave them the info about Old Man. It was also the rat's idea to hide out. They got nervous when they heard that Fregley died and sent that bum assassin. I wanted to blow his brains out right then and there, but I needed to find the rat. My dumbass goon said that it would be a while for them to find the right man. He could have already ran out of town. I didn't care how long it took. I wanted to know who did it. I don't care how long it takes. I want to know who the rat is. I went back to my office. I needed to go schedule a meeting with Leland. I can't just show up to his office out of the blue. That would be suspicious. I was about to dial the phone when I got a call from an unrecognizable number. I picked it up anyways, and do you know who it was? Hello, whose number is this? It was Holly. She said that she had found this number in her pants. I told her that I was the guy she talked to at the meeting. I asked her if she was doing anything tonight and if she wanted to have dinner with me. There was a long pause. Yet she came back on the phone and said yes. I quickly dialed for some fancy Italian joint, but they were booked. I couldn't let a chance like this slip through my fingers, so I called up Jury and asked if he could pull some strings to get me in. He wasn't interested in that though. Jury wanted to know the situation with Leland. Greg, this better be about Leland or I swear to God. In the heat of the moment, I might have lied and said that I had already taken care of everything. I mean, I am going to get it done, just not yet. Jury put me on hold for a while, but he returned and said that he got in for a spot on Friday at 7 p.m. Everything was going according to plan. Friday, I left this morning to Leland's and sped down to the city. The building I was heading to was the same one I had took care of Warren in. I find it weird how I'm going to the same building for an entirely different reason. I guess that's life. Once I arrived at the building, I went to the receptionist. I had planned a presentation for Leland and told her I was here to see him, but she asked what business I had with him. It was at that moment that I realized I forgot to set up the meeting with him in the first place. I lied. It was for Alex Aruda. She let me in. I thanked her on my way to the elevator. It was easy. A bit too easy. Somehow, this didn't feel right. Usually, they have to check if someone is in a meeting, even if it's for someone like Aruda. Yet, she just let me right in, unless he was expecting me to come. But that would mean no. No, that's not likely. I made my way to Leland's office. At the entrance stood 2 large men that could have easily turned me into a pretzel knot. However, when I reached for the door, they did not stop me or question what business I had with Leland. It was odd. I opened the door, and there sat Leland, playing what sounded like World of Warcraft on his computer. He told me to take a seat on the chair opposite to his desk. "How do you do, Gregory of the Heffley tribe?" "I'm doing amazing, Leland, but what I want to know is how you feel." I said to Leland that he had excellent potential as a leader and a businessman. I told him that there was no reason that he should continue to work with Alex, that he was holding everything down just for his sick kicks. I put my hands on his desk and elaborated on how he could become something greater, that he could be something professional, something respected. Why bother with a guy that can barely stand on his feet like Alex Aruda when you could in fact go for a business like the Italian Mafia? I see. Well, I've heard enough. He snapped his fingers and 2 large goons grabbed my arms and took me out. The last thing I saw was Leland getting on a phone to make a call. "Farewell, noob." The goons tossed me out of the building and told me to never come back. I didn't understand it. That usually works. I think through all the stress and violence, I may have lost my skills. I know that the Italians would have my ass for this, but I thought at the time, that's future Greg's problem. Too bad, I am future Greg. I headed over to the restaurant around 6 p.m., where Holly was waiting for me. She was wearing this really nice dress, and I'm gonna admit, I felt kinda nervous, given I have the balls to take on a gang and mob leaders. But trying to impress a woman, without drugs, is much harder in my opinion. Ah, crap, I hope my gun isn't showing. Holly and I sat down at our table. A couple of big tough looking guys came with us. They sat at a table next to us. Holly apologized, saying that those guys just work for her sister. I asked if her sister did that often. She replied that they're new to this area and knew this place was dangerous due to the high gang rates. I was in disbelief that a city run by the mob with little police enforcement could be possibly classified as dangerous. Apparently, her sister was looking for some new real estate here in the US of A. Holly kinda looked sad when she mentioned her sister, so I asked her what was wrong. "Hey man, are you alright?" "I am fine. It was just my sister." Holly said that her sister was very protective of her and wanted the best for her. She rubbed her wrist when she said that, almost like they had been bruised. She was never really allowed to talk to people about family business. Any friends she made were just usually her father's friends. But if they weren't associated with the family business, they were gone the next day. She refused, however, to tell me who her sister is, so I told her that I had some family issues of my own. Well, they cannot be that bad. My adopted 3-year-old brother killed my older brother and joined the Al-Qaeda. She asked if I was joking. I shook my head. She thought about it and said that she still wouldn't tell me. I got serious and told her that I swore on my fallen mentor that I would not tell a single soul. She hesitated, but she finally whispered it in my ear. I almost pissed my pants. "My sister is Heather Hills." I didn't know much about Heather, but I knew from the meeting she was a powerful woman. I remember Jury once told me that there was a rumor that Heather killed her father to usurp the German Mafia and seize power. No wonder Holly was miserable. The idea that your own family member could off you just to maintain power. I didn't even want to know what amount of stress that causes. So I asked her if she wanted to ditch this place and do something fun. She was caught off guard at first, but then was kinda into it. I ran back to my car to take off my suit until I saw him. It was Rad Chad. I realized the mob must have found out that I lied, and those guys don't like being lied to. I took out a suppressed pistol and hid behind the bushes. He hadn't noticed me yet, and since the valet guy wasn't stopping him, he must have been paid off. It looked like he was placing a bomb under my car. I couldn't just kill him, there were too many witnesses inside the restaurant, but then I noticed a miracle. Chad's car. It was hidden in a wide alleyway. I recognized it from when they drove me to see The Godfather. I made my way to the car. He had neglected to lock it. It was almost too easy. I got in the back seat of the car. There were no lights on, so it was completely dark. The inside of Chad's car was prestigious, with no stains or evidence that he had owned the car, probably in case it was stolen and used against him as evidence. As I waited on the rubbery mat of the car, I heard echoes of footsteps coming closer. It was Chad returning from his mission. He opened the driver's door, unaware of my presence. I ever so slightly got up to my feet, trying to make as little sound as possible. Chad was on the phone with somebody, irritated that he was the one to do the dirty work. I clenched the pistol in my hand. He talked about my existence as if I was some annoying mosquito. A bullet would not satisfy me. No. Instead, I pulled out my belt. I wrapped it around his impudent neck and strangled him with all my might. His eyes and tongue bulged out as he grasped for life. Chad's attempt to save himself was futile, as his last bits of consciousness crept away like the headlights of a passing car in the darkness. I leaned in and declared, "It was a pleasure working with you, Rad Chad." And with that, the gangster was dead. He had this coming ever since the hotel, and it was his mistake to underestimate me a second time. Whoever he had called hung up the phone, which meant it was time to leave. I met back up with Holly. I lied that I had to talk to an associate and lost track of time. I said that my car had broken down, but Holly just smiled and took me in her car. I directed her to the town's boardwalk. By the amount of fun she had, I know that it must have been one of Holly's best nights ever. Saturday. This morning, I got a very upsetting phone call. It was from the Italians. Jury said that the Godfather didn't like being lied to and that our friendship was over. I knew this would happen. I couldn't prevent it. However, it's what he said next that pissed me off. The Godfather doesn't want you anywhere near the city. We found Chad's body. You and your goons are to be killed on sight. I just want you to know that I was supposed to kill you, but I declined. Do not expect the same kindness the next time we meet. I was so angry that I threw the phone to the wall, destroying it. I didn't need those bastards anyway. I'm the best gangster ever. I couldn't just tell my goons that I just lost my main source of income. Now was the time to act. I gathered a bunch of my goons and told them to gather all those who are still loyal to Alex Aruda and or Scott. I made sure that anyone who was still working for those pieces of scum were either dead or working for me. The 5 or 10 goons were only able to fit in the lobby. I made sure that they were all eliminated. I sent Scott to the boiler room. I had a special plan for him. For his brother, however, I made sure he was sent off to the lake. I didn't even want to waste a bullet on him. Just a couple bricks to his feet and tossed him in. No regrets. Scott was mad. Even with his hands and legs tied to a table, he was screaming that without Aruda, the main Triad in China would stop doing business with us. But doesn't he know? I have everything under control, and I have some ideas with casinos. But the goons looked kinda worried, as if Scott had a point. I grabbed the Thompson and obliterated his face. I told them to toss the corpse in the lake. What kind of monster would I be to separate a pair of brothers? I left for my new office. I hadn't really gone into that room since my incident with Alex. That day, he helped open my eyes to how you win in this business. You don't cheat, you bargain. You don't lie, you bend the truth. You don't murder, you eliminate problems. Where Fregley told me about being a pawn, well, I've been studying chess. And I heard that if a pawn is smart enough, they can navigate and eliminate other pieces to become the queen, the most powerful piece on the board. I think that for the first time in a while, I have chosen the right path. Monday. This morning, I received a voicemail from Alex Aruda. He said some things related to Scott, but he had got to the point that he was going to be stuck in China until the end of summer. Serves the asshole right. That means I don't have to rush with getting everything. I can just relax with Holly and Tyson. This morning, Tyson and I went fishing in the lake today. Thanks to the bodies at the bottom, I knew all the right spots to fish. It was nice to go out and just chill with him, get a couple drinks and just relax. I wasn't that good at it though. My mom only let me go fishing once, before she realized that submarines were a thing. Hey Tyson, you've been in the Mafia for a while. Did you ever pick up on what relationship Alex and the old man had? Tyson said that Alex was taken under the wing of old man. He saw Alex Aruda's intelligence and knew that he could capitalize. Yet, Tyson said that he always noticed that Aruda was always in the shadow of old man, always thinking. They're both fine, it's those other mob bosses you need to worry about. What's wrong with the other ones? Tyson asked me if I was serious. You gotta be joking, Greg. He sat down. Those people are beyond evil. They would take joy in destroying a whole country and then go to bed like nothing happened. I apologized for what I had said and asked what beef he had with those people. He didn't answer me and went back to fishing. I didn't understand why he was so aggressive, but I guess if he just got poisoned by somebody, I would be mad too. Holly came by later today. Her guards weren't around this time, so I was a bit more relaxed. I told Holly about my rise to power in the mob and told her my plan. I also asked her if she wanted to do business with our Triad to help out her presence in Plainview. She was hesitant at first, but I was able to persuade her. But what about Heather? Heather doesn't need to know. As far as she knows, you were able to take control of Plainview. I think things are finally going my way. I have power, money, and sooner or later with Holly, women. Tuesday, something has come up today and I'm not sure I want to write about it, but I will anyways. A few days ago, I had sent an assassin to take out the Godfather. I had also sent some special forces to kill Leland. If I wanted to take over Plainview, I needed complete control. Now all I needed to do was wait. This morning, when I was making phone calls to set up meetings with people in Vegas, my goons came in and told me that they had found the rat. I immediately got off the phone and grabbed my hand cannon. They told me he was in the basement. I was ready to finally wipe this piece of scum off the face of the earth. I was not ready to see Tyson tied to a chair. What the hell is this? Boss, this is the guy. They told me that the goon said Tyson's voice was identical to the one he had heard on the phone a few days ago, and the voice on the phone that told him about Old Man. I couldn't believe it. How stupid would a guy have to be in order to believe that? I was about to put one in that goon's head for making such a mistake, but then Tyson told me that he wasn't lying. Tyson was the rat. I told them I would like everyone who is not me or the man in that chair to please leave the room. I want you to tell me why. Greg, I told you, I betrayed Old Man. I already goddamn know what you told me. I just want to know why. Tyson decided to finally elaborate more into his past. He said that his parents' deaths were not accidents, but they were actually the work of the Mafia. The hit was made by Old Man when Tyson's father couldn't pay them back on their drug deal. So when Tyson was given the order by Alex to rat out the location of Old Man, he didn't skip a beat. When he met me, however, he realized that I had also lost my parents to gangsters. He didn't want me to go down this path of revenge and violence. But once he realized that I could become something that could stop the mob and end this cycle, he didn't hesitate to do anything within his power to help me rise to the top. Tyson, I gave you my trust. You were my closest friend. And you repay me by lying to me and trying to use me? It was not supposed to end like this. You weren't supposed to become like one of them. I had to do it for the greater good. What the fuck do you think I've been trying to do? Greater good. I used to respect you because you were the only person I could trust. Tyson shook his head. He said that it was beyond his understanding why I cared so much for a man that I only knew for about a week. It was there that I lost it. He was the only one who gave me hope. The only one who gave me a chance. My parents would treat my death like a minor inconvenience, and God knows what Rowley would have done to me. I pointed my gun at his head. He looked down in shame. He said that he had no regrets for what he did, but he apologized for giving me the idea that he was truly my friend. I wanted to do it. I didn't care what he did to Old Man. He lied to my damn face and then used me for his own gain. But for whatever reason, I didn't pull the trigger. I instead threw my hand cannon at the wall. I was not mad at this bastard for what he had done, but instead I was shocked that my best friend was replaced with this scum of the earth human being. I started walking up the stairs. I didn't look back. I don't want to look at your face anymore. I'll get you a car and a plane. After that, I never want to see you in this town again. Later today, I did just that. I got some of my goons to get him out of the basement and give him a car and a couple $1,000s. I tossed him the keys and he got in the car and drove away. He didn't even notice the remote in my hand. I did what had to be done. It's not my fault he had to face retribution. Yet, I feel soon I will have to face mine. For now, I'm going to put this somewhere safe, where no one can find it. To Tyson, my friend, I fear I will never see you again, for you have gone to a place I could never follow. Yet, I hope, one day, the Lord can find a way to forgive me. So long, diary. Greg Heffley. And just like that, Greg and the Mafia is complete. That was an insane ride. I mean, we go from Greg getting his entire family murdered to Greg joining the Mafia, his mentor getting killed, and then him climbing up the ranks for around like 100 pages to the point where his best friend was actually the one that betrayed him and used him and took his friendship and just threw it out the window. I won't lie, I kind of had a feeling Tyson was the rat a couple pages before it was revealed that. It was a very good twist though, and I'm very excited for what Greg and the Mafia Part 2 has in store for us, because that's going to completely wrap up this entire story. Let me know what you guys thought about this story in the comments. Did you guys enjoy it? Because I absolutely loved reading this story. It was a crazy ride, like I said. Very, very cool story. Really interesting to see a fanfiction this serious, because usually we get those kind of goofy stories that just go off the rails and just don't take themselves that serious and just lean into the fanfiction side of things where it's just, it gets a little too crazy. This is, this is by all means insane. Like, this is very crazy, but just a very different take on fan fictions that we have not really seen before, and it was just awesome. So that's gonna do it for this video. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Diary of a Wimpy Kid fanfiction stories. Also, make sure to leave the bell on for notifications. You do not want to miss Greg and the Mafia Part 2. It's going to be insane. It's going to wrap up this entire story. You do not want to miss it. So that's going to do it for me. I hope all of you have a great rest of your day or night whenever you're watching it. And I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.